James Cleverly, Conservative Party Deputy Chairman. Good morning to you.
Julia, good morning.
I have to ask you first up, though, about this ridiculous to-do over the Conservative Party conference app, which saw people being able to hack in. If you had someone's email address, you were able to hack in and get mobile phone numbers for the likes of cabinet ministers, other VIPs. I mean, after last year, with magnetic letters falling off the set, the Prime Minister's coughing fit, you've started off on a bit of a low, haven't you?
Well, the problem with the app was a bit embarrassing. We've apologised to the people that it affected. As soon as we were made aware of it, we closed that loophole.
Do you know how many people were affected?
No, short answer. The numbers, we heard that people were saying up to 100. We don't know for definite, but we've contacted everyone that might have been affected. We closed the loophole within 20 or 2 minutes, I think it was, of being made aware of that problem. Look, it's not how you'd want to start a conference, but actually, in modern party conferences, there are so many moving parts. There are literally thousands of things happening that back in the old days we didn't ever have to worry about. Occasionally things go wrong. It's never great. You deal with it and you move on.
Well, moving on, obviously that's what the Prime Minister wants to do from Brexit, but she has to get over the rather large fence of getting a Brexit deal first. And that's what a lot of people are focusing on. That's the first thing everyone was talking about, whether they were just ordinary party delegates or cabinet ministers when I arrived yesterday. The question is, though, is Theresa May going to be able to sell the Chequers deal to Tory party members when she can't sell it to, well, some of the members of her own cabinet? Do you think she's going to be able to, well, will she be seeing the flags being waved and a standing ovation with genuine encouragement from party members when she speaks on Wednesday? Do you think she's going to be able to sell the Chequers deal?
I think she's going to get a great reception on Wednesday. The mood in party conference always defies predictions. You always get the stories ahead of the weekend saying, oh, it's going to be a bloodbath, and oh, there's going to be civil war, and oh, it's going to be carnage. And then you actually get here and people are having fun and they're chatting. And yeah, there are some rows over Brexit. There's no point pretending otherwise. But there is an awful lot in politics that is not Brexit. There's business, there's housing, there's the economy, there's schools, there's the NHS, there's public services. And actually on those things, on those really big issues, and of course business and the role it plays in society, we are pretty much on the same page as a party. And so there's a lot more that unites us than divides us. We will get through this Brexit thing. I genuinely think that we will get a deal, because it is bonkers for the EU to not negotiate in good faith.
But will the deal be the Chequers deal that Prime Minister wants?
Well, we can't know that for certain. I think the Chequers...
Do you want it to be?
I think the Chequers deal is a pragmatic deal. If I had a magic wand right at the start of this process and can magic up our Brexit deal, it wouldn't necessarily look just like Chequers.
And you, of course, were a Leave campaign.
Yeah, and I came out very early. I got a lot of stick because I made it clear in January that I didn't think what the then Prime Minister David Cameron was asking for was enough to win me over, and I got some stick from that. So, I came out early, and bearing in mind I'd only been elected for a few months at that point, so I stuck my neck on the block early on Brexit. So, I'm Brexit tooth and claw. There's no two ways about that. But ultimately, with a negotiation, and I've done negotiations my whole adult life. That's what I did. That's what I used to do to pay the mortgage. And when you're negotiating, you have to understand what your red lines are, but don't put artificial red lines in. And for us, it was money, laws, borders, keep the United Kingdom as one entity, and keep business on the road. And I think Chequers delivers those things.
Why does the former Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson and the former Brexit Secretary David Davis, why do they not think it does then?
Well,
did they just not understand?
They will have to take that up with Liam Fox, who does think it delivers it, or Andrew Leadsom, who does think, or Chris Grayling, who does, or the list of Brexiteers who think it does what it needs to do is longer than the list of Brexiteers that doesn't.
The message I got from a number of senior figures in the Cabinet, who I've been speaking to since I've arrived here in Birmingham, is that they don't believe in Brexit. They don't want Brexit, but they believe that the choice is not Brexit or a Canada plus free trade deal, what they perhaps would have wanted. It's a choice between Chequers and no deal, and then They're not afraid of no deal. What they are afraid of, though, is that the Remainers, the likes of the Dominic Grieves, the Anna Soubrys, Philip Hammond, the Chancellor of the Exchequer, will vote in Parliament for there to be an extension to Article 50, a people's vote, to be called a second referendum, a loser's vote, is what I would call it, and we will see the extension of Article 50, and we won't actually be leaving the European Union on the 29th of March. Do you believe that is the threat that is focusing minds within the cabinet?
I think there is a threat of that. I really do, and I've said this to some of my friends, close friends and colleagues, who also campaigned with me on Brexit. I said, if we wake up in 2-3 years' time, and through some obsession with ideological purity and infighting, that kind of stuff, we wake up and discover that somehow we haven't left the European Union, the British people will quite rightly be furious, and they will quite rightly blame us on the Brexiteer side of the Conservative Party. So I think it's absolutely key that we deliver the big promise at the referendum, which is to respect the vote and leave the European Union. And I campaigned all over the place during the EU referendum, and I don't remember very many conversations about automotive supply chains. You know,
maybe we should have had them.
It was about borders, money, laws.
Okay,
that's what it was about.
And how much of this is about getting over Brexit and taking the fight to the Labour Party? A very successful conference for Jeremy Corbyn last week, undoubtedly.
Superficially.
Well, you can say superficially, but a lot of what he said really charmed with a lot of voters, a lot of floating voters, a lot of bits about renationalisation, some of the of utilities, of the railways, things like that. There's an awful lot of support. If you actually go down the list of policies that the Labour Party has right now, it's got a majority support across the board for a lot of those big policies. And all we've heard so far from the Conservative Party conference is, I think Philip Hammond's Chancellor saying something about the apprenticeship levy today, and we're going to get waiters and waitresses getting to keep their service tips in full. I mean, is this the Tory party's big idea to sell themselves to the British people?
No, the big idea is to remind the British people the things that we know to be true, but if we're being honest, we probably haven't spoken about passionately enough for a number of years. And that is how the balanced relationship between the commercial sector and the public sector actually means that we've got some of the best public services in the world, that we've got safety and security that almost any other countries in the world would die for, that we've got choice and freedom and opportunity, the like of which previous generations have never seen before. And the reason we've got those things is because we've got a balanced approach that understands the really important role that business has in generating the wealth of nations that you use to fund the nurses, the doctors, the firefighters, the police officers, and that kind of stuff. And it's that balance. And whilst it's maybe not as exciting as the very tooth and claw revolutionary Marxism of the current Labour leadership, the bottom line is exactly the kind of people that those nonsense policies might be superficially appealing to are exactly the people who would get hit first and hardest when the economy tanks, when mortgage rates go through the roof, when there are capital controls, so you can't even take money on holiday, when those businesses and entrepreneurs flee the country, taking their jobs.
Do you think you're getting that message across?
We are starting to ramp up that message. We are absolutely going to engage in the battle of ideas, because the fundamental truth is the Labour conference basically microwaved all the ideas from the 1970s about chuck public money at every problem, nationalise every industry, and unicorns for all. It doesn't work. It's never worked, and it won't work next time.
Let me ask you about what the Chancellor, Philip Hammond, had to say about Boris Johnson, saying, look, he doesn't do grown-up politics and he'll never be Prime Minister. Is Philip Hammond right?
Look, I've worked with Boris for over 10 years. I regard him as a friend as well as a colleague, and I've seen him work in London, and we delivered some fantastic things in London.
I feel a butt coming.
And and my lesson for everybody, Boris included, is remember what made us successful when we were running London. It was a broad church. It wasn't factionalism. It was working as a team, engaging with people that disagree with you. We did some fantastic things in London. I think Boris is an incredibly talented politician. I think anyone who, and I'm not suggesting he is, but anyone who thinks that a leadership change anytime in the near future is a good idea needs their bumps felt, because that would be awful. in terms of our successful
That
negotiation.
said, there's lots of talk that, well, it won't be someone like Boris Johnson. It won't be somebody in the current cabinet or having just left it, and it will skip a generation and move down to younger members of the party.
Oh God, that sounds like a brilliant idea. I don't know who came
your
up with that.
name, Mr. Cleverly, has been mentioned as a possible future leader, somebody who could unite the party, a leaver, but who's seen as someone who's a moderate who could unite the party. Would you, if a job was available, would you put your name into the hat?
Depends on the timing. It really does depend on the timing. So I've never understood why politicians obey this weird rule. So we are a self-selecting group of some of the most ambitious people in society. And whenever you get asked that question, the traditional rule is you go, oh, no, not me, never. Oh, Eric's doing the traditional hand signal. Oh, no. So look, and I've said it before, you get into a profession, you get into an industry, and you see an opportunity to have the best job in that industry, to be able to make the most difference, and then someone asks you, would you want to do that? And you lie. Traditionally you go, oh, no. I would love to be Prime Minister. I would love to be Prime Minister. There are all kinds of exciting things, ideas that I've got, ideas that other people have got. It is a fantastic job. But when you said one of the people in the... You know what? I look at my parliamentary colleagues, people I bump into in Westminster and around here. The quality bar in the Conservative Party is fantastic. We have some amazing people, and you chat to them. Some of the people that your listeners might not think are of household names. So both people at cabinet level and right down to the 2017 intake. We have got an amazing parliamentary party.
Would they be better than Theresa May?
At the moment, no. I think Theresa May is absolutely the right person in the job. But it's horses for courses. It's the right person for the right time.
Okay.
And Theresa May is the right person to get us through what we're going through at the moment. And what might happen in 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years in the future. We'll worry about that when we get there.
You won't be a bright young thing then. James Cleverly, Conservative Party Deputy Chairman, thank you very much indeed for joining us.